last time we talked to Lionel, I think, was the night of the election, and he and I were talking about how interesting the Trump campaign was and how things just didn't work to attack him because everybody understood that he was authentic. So whether you agreed with him or not, whether he had rough edges or not, you realized that he was authentic on this. And I think it's going to be interesting. We certainly have seen him do his own thing even after becoming elected president. We've never seen a president go out and do a victory tour thanking the people that elected him because he went over the heads of the establishment, both press and political, and also to be proactive, to go out and to save jobs. As we point out, for 8 years, Obama hasn't saved a single factory. Instead, what he has done is misallocate taxpayer money in a kind of crony capitalism way. And as I pointed out earlier in the show, this issue with EPA rules and regulations, and understand that even though he's already surpassed the record number of new regulations by a bureaucracy, that's legislation without representation, folks, even though he's already accomplished that, he's already in the Guinness Book of Records as regulator-in-chief, he's not done yet. And he's pushing for a lot more regulations before the end of the year. Just the top 100 of those will be about $2 billion in additional regulation. But look at this new EPA rule. It's going to push regulatory costs past $1 trillion over a 10-year period. Isn't that amazing? $1 trillion of regulations, chains that he is putting on this economy. That's what Obama has done through his entire regime. They say a new implementation of EPA rules, this is from the Washington Examiner, on heavy trucks has boosted the 10-year regulatory burden on America past $1 trillion, 75% of which have been imposed by the Obama administration. If this can go through, okay, this is a one-time charge of $3,000 per person, or if you take it at a rate of an annual rate, that's $540 per man, woman, and child. Think about that when you look at some of the libertarian organizations criticizing what happened with the Indiana government. And, of course, it's not the federal government didn't give any subsidies to Carrier. They say, well, Indiana shouldn't have given $700 per person per job there. Now, that is not $700 coming from each citizen of Indiana. That is $700 that is going to Carrier for those people's positions, except that Carrier is coming in with 2.5 times that amount to invest. And those people whose jobs they're paying $700 per job to keep, those people are going to pay far more than that in tax. They're going to have a massive impact on the economy there. And yet we've got Obama, $500 per man, woman, and child across the United States just for this one EPA regulation. It's just absolutely amazing what they're doing. And as we've talked in this last hour, we talked to Philippe Larouth from the European journalist that is talking about the push in Europe to shut down what they call fake news or propaganda. And, of course, they're going to determine what is fake, what is propaganda. And they're saying this is coming from the Russians. We've got to be careful. They're going to ruin our elections in Germany just like they did in America. No, there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence they were behind the hack at the DNC. And they don't talk about the specifics. But let's talk about all this red baiting, all this red scare stuff. We got an article here from the New York Times. A subdued Vladimir Putin calls for mutually beneficial ties with the U.S. They used to call that détente. They used to call that a good thing until we had Obama and Hillary say we're going to have a Russian reset. And what they did was reset the Cold War. He said that he wanted to normalize and begin to develop bilateral relations on an equal and mutually beneficial basis with the United States. And the New York Times says that Putin's comments largely reprised the message he gave Mr. Trump in a telephone call soon after the election when both men agreed that something needed to be done to improve, quote, the absolutely unsatisfactory state of bilateral relations that had been created by Obama and Hillary Clinton. Let's just put that footnote in there for the New York Times since they won't tell you that. They say in a departure from his speeches in recent years, Mr. Putin avoided sarcastic or downright angry comments about the United States, but he also made it clear that Russia demanded to be treated with respect as a global power, not as a regional power that Mr. Obama described it in 2004, which infuriated Moscow. See, even the rhetoric was inflammatory that they've done. Now, stay with us. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk to Lionel.
If you ever wanted to live off the grid and produce your own clean energy in a silent, reliable way, this is a message you want to pay very close attention to. Thanks to a new development in solar generator technology, it's now possible for my listeners and viewers to produce their own source of emergency backup electricity. And even more importantly, it's now extremely affordable. Thanks to the guys at Solutions from Science, you can get one of these $6,000 solar generators for less than $1,500. We have these units at the office and at my home. I can run my sump pumps, my shortwave radios, all of my devices, and even keep our food from spoiling. Go to powergridchaos.com and get 70% off for a limited time. Folks, there has never been a better time to get off the grid. It's going to be crucial in 2017, maybe even life-saving. powergridchaos.com for 70% off.